and you're free to ask me questions or any of my colleagues who are present. But as you know, we would like to stick to the two matters presented to you. Um, you know, if you want to ask me questions afterwards on a matter, then I can maybe respond to that if time permits. But thank you, the press, for always responding to our request to meet with yourself, and we always thank you for the dissemination of information to the public. Yes.
Yeah, Hassan, CBN for News. The question is in regard to when you said that you're focusing on education and trying to help the Haitian community. One question that came to mind was, do you think that it would be a good idea to have some of the Haitian students maybe come to Dominica and instead of they missing out on their schools, they could have a chance to continue their.
Yeah. One of the advice that we continue to receive from experts in disaster management is that we must try as far as possible not to displace people. Ensure as fast as possible that we can build back the infrastructure and the institutions in those countries and in those communities, to keep those people. For example, in speaking to the Prime Minister and the President of Haiti and some of his cabinet ministers, we were discussing some strategies which they could employ in Lakai and Jeremy with immediate effect to ensure that there is not an exodus of people into the capital, Port-au-Prince. You understand? To ensure people remain there. So they need to create, they have indicated that, and they have had some very profound ideas on the creation of some economic opportunities, employment opportunities, immediately to ensure people remain, so people can earn an income and remain in those communities, rather than there being an exodus of things. So the idea is really, because you see, sometimes if you remove people from the communities, except in a situation where because of the state of play, they cannot remain. For example, in Dominica and Petit Savan, people couldn't remain there. That's why the idea is to build back the schools as quickly as possible, and to ensure that the students have the means of taking advantage of the education opportunity. Okay.
Yes, Prime Minister. I know Dominica served as a model for several Caribbean countries when it comes to disaster management. I guess it could be because, of course, we have had so much to deal with, so we have got it right. Haiti, of course, is still challenged, but I wanted to look particularly at the Bahamas in terms of what you saw, because they have not had to deal with so many natural disasters as we have had to. In terms of the way they deal with disasters, what have you seen?
That's one correction. The Bahamas has been dealing with more hurricanes than us in the last 10 years. Last year they had Joaquin, which affected Bahamas. I think last year it affected the south of Bahamas. This year it affected the north of Bahamas. So you had Joaquin that affected them. Then you had, prior to that, a few other hurricanes in recent time. So the Bahamas has seen, don't forget it is right at the foot of Florida, and when it goes up this way, and so they have seen their fair share of natural disasters. I mean, they have a pretty good system in place, I must say. They have the National Emergency Management Agency, and what the Prime Minister has done is that he has a responsibility to a senior minister to oversee the government's response, or day-to-day response to the disaster. And they, moving around with the Prime Minister and engaging him in discussions and his cabinet ministers, I am satisfied that the Bahamas has the structure in place. What we have been doing from the CDMA standpoint is to go in and to do independent assessments for them, and to work alongside with the National Emergency Agency of the Bahamas and because the Bahamas is part of the CDMA family. So, and so CDMA already is our principal advisor on disaster management and prevention. So they go in there, and there were teams there, literally the day after the storm, to work alongside NEMA and to provide advice where advice is needed. Likewise in Haiti, we have had teams on the ground literally the day after Hurricane Matthew, and those teams are resident in Haiti, and they'll be there in the first instance for the next 3 weeks. They're on the ground. They are getting involved in a practical way. The response, they coordinate relief, doing the assessment. So the number of very critical things which we're doing in both Haiti and the Bahamas. So and we've been able to share with them, respectfully, some of our own experiences, because in these things you you don't know everything, and like we've been able to learn from others, we're more than willing to share with others our own experiences, and our experiences are fresh in minds, just for you, um, you know, and I am satisfied that the Bahamas has a structure in place. Obviously, in Haiti, it's always a particular challenge. They just had the massive earthquake a few years ago, then the massive drought, massive rain, lots of rain. Then you have this this hurricane impacting upon them. And of course, there are other countries that have been impacted by Hurricane Matthew, but because these two countries, obviously, because these two countries are the most hardly hit, then you will hear my focus being on these two countries. Um, and also because I am speaking in my capacity largely as the chairman of the Conference of Heads. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
In terms of the Sexual Offences Act, will there be any provisions made for rape within marriage? What is the reason?
There is. I can tell you there was huge debate on it, so it's a very important question, and I see it has caught the attention of the general public. But it makes provision. It makes provisions for it. We sought to clarify it, but it's an important piece of legislation which every citizen in the country needs to read. I'm trying to find the section, but I can get you a copy and you can look at it. But it does make it just it defines it. It defines it. It defines when it can be considered an offense and under what conditions it cannot be. You understand? So it's important for all of us, not only married couples to read, but for the entire country to read, because it is legislation on our books. But as I said, the amendments to the Sexual Offences Act has taken into consideration a number of the concerns raised by the public, and we have included additional amendments to the legislation, and I think the amendments to the legislation, to the act, is sufficiently extensive that it would have addressed all of the concerns raised by the public in respect to this particular phenomenon in our country. Okay. Any other questions?
You said this is in regards to climate change as well. You said that you foresee certain things happening, and it did come to fruition. In regards to climate change and Bahamas and Haiti, do you as well have any things to add to it in terms of Dominica? you know, in terms of us too having certain systems put in place to prevent us from receiving such a hard blow.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing one can do to prevent a hurricane, but I agree with you, the system's in place. And this is why I mentioned that at the, not this sitting coming on Wednesday, but at the next sitting of the Parliament, we will bring to the Parliament new legislation on disaster management. We have a protocol in place which speaks in a detailed fashion what we need to do prior to a disaster, what we need to do after, during a disaster, what we need to do after disaster. So this is in place. And one of the reasons why we brought on Mr. Cecil Schillingford as a consultant, one who has tremendous experience in disaster management, is to advise us on a number of the gaps, identify the gaps that we have as a country, and to advise us on the actions which we need to take. I must say that we're very satisfied with the work he has done thus far. So there are a number of things that we need to put in place, not only in terms of legislation, but also in relation to pieces of infrastructure. You understand? I'll give you a classic example. You have under the cliff. That's the only road in and out of Roseau. Is it from the north? But you have this road there at Ravencock, going up to Mount Daniel, some of which is private property. It is the intention of the state to acquire this road access and to construct a bypass, which will be a public road. So if something were to happen on the cliff, which is a regular occurrence, you understand? Whether it is the sea coming across the seawall, notwithstanding all of this rock armor you have, when the sea says it's coming across, there's nothing you can do. You see, so even in places where there's no rock armor, people believe that that's why the water is coming across. I mean, it'll come across. And then you have falling rocks on a regular basis. And we've seen sometimes that under the cliff can be unpassable. So we're looking at building that piece of infrastructure to allow for escape if that need arises and so forth.
How important is the geothermal development what you have done already?
It's a notwithstanding our challenges of financing post-tropical storm Erica, the cabinet has taken a firm decision to treat with the geothermal as a national priority, which means that it will not be affected as a result of the financing required for tropical storm Erica. We had made an initial commitment of $10 million as government cash injection into the construction of the production plant. And we have since increased that amount to $15 million that the government will be putting in. We also have a very firm commitment from the government of the United Kingdom, where they'll be providing us with between 9 and 10 million US dollars towards the geothermal plant. And I can say to you that there is literally a battle, a very friendly battle among international financial institutions, seeking to provide us with the additional financing required to finance the geothermal plant. We have made a determination in the cabinet which financial institution we will approach to finance the geothermal plant, and negotiations are ongoing. I'm not in a position now to express this particular point, but because it has certain diplomatic issues to it, and I cannot speak to those publicly yet. But there is a keen interest, I must say, on the part of certain countries and some international financial institutions that are prepared to provide us with the additional financing required. Because we have to ensure that, you see, well, renewable energy is the way to go. But we also have to appreciate too that the capital investment is very high. Long-term savings are there, but you need to put in a lot of money right away, so to speak, upfront, before you start seeing the benefits. It's like solar. You will not have a light bill going forward, but you need to find money, and most of us do not have the monies that we need to invest in it upfront. Otherwise, most of us, including myself, would have been completely. But when I got a quote to provide my home with solar, I say, well, I will have to wait still. So there's a huge cost, but we have to ensure that the financing is sufficiently concessional in order for us to pass on that benefit to the consumer. You see, because if the financing has to be taken into consideration, the cost of financing has to be taken into consideration in the determination of the selling price to Domlec, it will be a particular rate depending on the interest rate of borrowing. So we're satisfied that we will have the ability to attract a highly concessionary rate in respect to the financing of a geothermal plant. So the government of Dominica has set aside 15 million United States dollars. You multiply by 2.67, so it'll give you the EC equivalent. Dr. Dario, you're good in maths. You have a calculator. So if you multiply 15 million US by 2.67, you will understand the EC amount which the government is putting aside towards the geothermal plant. Once we can finalize negotiations with the 40 million EC dollars, we can make a determination on that. But certainly it's a national priority for us. This is why we're pushing the legislation in Parliament, because the reason that's for it may come up as a public issue. The reason why the legislation is coming now, originally, as you know, we were going in a joint venture with a French consortium. So the legislation, the draft legislation, would have taken into consideration that arrangement. You understand? Because there would have been certain legislative requirements to allow for that arrangement to go forward. Because the joint venture did not go through, we've had to remove certain sections of the existing bill because they were no longer relevant. Seeing that the government of Dominica has taken a decision to develop this small plant on its own, with its own financing, meaning its own local financing coupled with financing from our friendly governments and also from the international financial institutions. And what we intend to do, once the geothermal plant is operational and we are selling to the grid, then we will offer to the Dominican public shares in the company. It is the intention of the government to dispose of as much as 40 to 50% of its ownership in the geothermal plant. So those of you who have been speaking about allowing the Dominican public to be part of the geothermal development, here is your opportunity to put your money aside and hold it in a fixed deposit. Hold it in a fixed deposit. There's some folks in the diaspora who would have spoken about this a lot and criticized the government heavily. So, speak to Bank of America. Well, I'm not sure whether you want to speak to Wells Fargo now, but you can speak to Bank of America. So you could you can make Citibank, you can make the monies available when the time comes. But once we start selling to the grid, then we will. And the idea is to ensure that we present to the Dominican community, Dominican public, a successful operation. An operation that has met the test of scrutiny and has been able to sell to the grid. So we are taking all the risk as a government, all the risk as a government. And when the risk would have been set aside, then that's where we invite you to participate in this national endeavor. Okay?
Prime Minister Square also, when Parliament convenes next week, the opposition next Workers' Party is expected to table a vote or a motion of no confidence. Your initial reaction?
So that's my initial reaction. That's my reaction, to laugh. Because I have not met, including the supporters of the opposition, one person who has not laughed when they've heard this, including from their own supporters, including from some members of the parliament. They will not say so publicly, some of them, but I mean, they're laughing at this. It's a joke. It's a joke. If anybody if anybody want to question any country in this world for proper management of the state finances, it will be Dominica, my friend. You understand? But this is a gentleman who I offered last year 15 petrocastles, 15 three-bedroom petrocastles with 2 washrooms for the citizens of Marigot. And he has not moved one finger to take advantage of this 15 petrocastles in the initial instance. You understand? This is a member of parliament who criticized the government by saying that we did not help Marigot people with school supplies, not knowing that over 60 students from Marigot, from the constituency of Marigot, received books, shoes, uniform, and in some cases school bags from the government of Dominica to attend school. This is the same member of parliament who demonstrated over the Kayambok, Melvin Hall, Vauxhall Road. And he knows that I gave the village council of Marigot $30,000 to do repairs to that road. And the monies had been sitting in the council in a fixed deposit, I've been told, on the streets for over a year. For over a year. So, if there is anybody in this country, in the parliament, who don't know confidence should be held against, it's Mr. Linton. It's Mr. Linton. Mr. Linton is the most incompetent and ineffective opposition leader. I remember he's beaten the member for Salisbury 10-1. And the member of Salisbury was bad. So, I mean, I have not met one of the supporters who have said to me that this thing is laughable. I mean, everybody's laughing about this. Everybody is a joke. You understand? If you, I mean, here it is, you've been affected by a storm, and you have not affected any of your existing social programs. You have been able to pay public officers on time. You have been able to increase the budget to the World Crime Music Festival by over $1 million. You have resettled an entire community with 3-bedroom homes each. In some cases, even furniture and fixtures in these homes. We have signed a contract to build 381 homes for the people of Petit Savan. Fully financed, 381 homes with playing facilities, with public spaces, with a wonderful park that will be much more attractive than the Botanic Gardens. Mr. Linton, though he does no work, has received his salary on time as Member of Parliament. I mean, we're improving the infrastructure. We have, and we're going to be increasing, you're going to see more visible construction taking place in the country because we have instructed the Minister for Public Works to employ more engineers, more quantity surveyors. We're bringing in a firm, an international firm here next week that has a very deep reservoir of expertise to advise us on a number of those interventions. We're spending millions of dollars to pay for students studying overseas in various schools. You understand? So, I mean, all you could do in this thing is to laugh. is to laugh, as all of you are doing here, and all Dominicans are doing. You know, Mr. Linton had an opportunity just a few weeks ago in the Parliament. He had 2 hours and 15 minutes to articulate his economic and social vision for the country. What did you hear from him that remains with you, the day after, moments after he read it? Far more for now. Ask him to give us a copy of his statement in the Parliament in response to the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance budget address. And look at it. Look at it. What has it done for any community since Tropical Storm America? What has it done? What has it done? How much money he has raised? So, Parliament is a serious place. Governance of the country is a serious place. And it is not an easy task to run this country. And I think sometimes we in Dominica take the leadership and what the leadership of this country have been doing for granted because it appears to be so easy. It is not easy at all. You know, we have $10 million for farmers. You're telling me that is bad economic management, bad management of finances? $15 million to hotels at 2%, 3%. There is no way in the Caribbean region, my brothers and sisters, where any bank is offering any farmer or any hotelier interest rate at 3%. The banks here, Scotiabank, I believe, and maybe First Caribbean Bank, these foreign banks, may offer you US loans at 4%, US loans at 4%. And it is not for any ordinary financing. You understand? And if you have to do the foreign exchange thing and also there are something embedded in this, it might be more than 4%. The effective rate might be 5, 6, 7, 8, 10%. I'm not criticizing the banks and so on. I don't want them to take it personal and so on. I'm just making a reference there. You know, I mean, you have about 12, 13 feet of construction. And more to come. There's one in Granby we'll be doing soon. There's the one in Mayro there, $2 million. So what is he talking about? We have financial institutions that are offering us loans. There's one bank that's offering us $50 million US as a loan to assist. We're discussing it. And also another institution, $30 million US. That they're offering us, we didn't ask them for it, they're offering it to us because we have credibility. We have credibility. You know when sometimes the bank tell you have a credit card pre-approved? Because they monitor your payments to the thing and see that you use it a lot, but you also pay in time and on time, and sometimes you even credit. Or you have pre-approved loan. Many of you in the country may have gotten pre-approved loans. If you're delinquent at the bank, no way they can give you a pre-approved loan. So we're getting pre-approved loans from financial institutions. You know what I'm saying? So we can't get distracted by lazy men. I have a lot of work to do. The brunt of the responsibility rests on my shoulder and that of the cabinet of ministers. And we are not going to and get distracted from that responsibility. If there's one thing you can say about my friends, is that I am determined and I am focused. You understand? I am focused on the plight of the Dominican people. I am very responsive to their needs, but I'm also very responsible. And every institution that we have dealt with, from the World Bank to the CDB to the European Union, they enjoy working with us. Some may have a little thing because I speak very strongly to them, publicly and privately, on behalf of my people. But they respect us. When we came into office in 2000, as a result of the bad management of the United Workers' Party, the CDB was not giving Dominica money. The CDB was not giving the aid bank money because they had issues with our country. Issues of bad good governance practices. When we came into office, We had to repay the World Bank some monies because the government of the time, at the day, did not respect the procurement rules of the World Bank. So we had to refund the World Bank. When we came to office, we were at odds with the European Union because the Carol Lago and then the Carib Territory Water Project was not done in accordance with their procurement rules. And they suspended that project. We had to renegotiate them. And when we negotiated them and we put systems in place, they did not only allow us to complete the water project, they made additional funds available for the project of some 7 million euros. Understand? This is the legacy of the Labour Party administration in Dominica. So this is why when people accuse us, they cannot come with any facts. They can't come with any evidence. Because we always maintain that the prudent, responsible management of the state finances must be paramount for small economies like ours. And you heard me say publicly in the past that managing the affairs of Dominica, the finances of Dominica, is like taking a drive. Now the road is much more improved, but you know, from Poncasse to Canefield, always winding. The moment you take off the ice of the road, you'll be in the precipice. And that's what the management of our small economy, I guess, you have to be responsible. Responsive, we've always been, but responsible we are. So if you feel that there should be a vote of no confidence in me for increasing the minimum pension in the country. Minimum pension was first increased by us to $200. By us. And we've further increased the minimum pension from $200 to $300. Okay? And now everybody who's 70 and over is receiving $300 a month from the government. We have increased the tax threshold in this country to $25,000. So people who are receiving $25,000 or less in Dominica as an annual income pay no income tax. Pay no income tax. When we came into office, pensioners who worked tirelessly for this country had to go to villages on backs of donkeys and horses. School teachers who had to walk miles, nurses who had to walk miles, were still being asked to pay income tax on their pensions. And this government felt, under my leadership, that this was an injustice to the hardworking people of this country. And we removed the income tax requirement on people's pension in this country. So whether you're getting $5,000 or $1,000 or $500 for your income for your pension, you pay no income tax in Dominica. No income tax in Dominica. You understand? And the first 5-star will be built on the Labour Party. It's under construction, 160 rooms. First time we had night flight in Dominica is under our administration. The intensive care unit, first time in 2005, the intensive care unit came into Dominica. Before that, we had none. You know how many people died in Dominica before 2005? And now we have a fully staffed, fully functional, saving lives, intensive care unit in Dominica. And wait when you get the new hospital, you'll see how impressive the intensive care unit will be. Wait when we get the new hospital, you'll see how impressive the MRI facilities will be. Wait when you get the new facilities, you'll see how impressive the theater, the surgical wards will be, and the theater itself will be. Wait. And you tell me you want to take me out as Prime Minister and put you, a lazy person, as Prime Minister? I mean, let's, if we make a joke, let's make a joke. But we can't go to Parliament with jokes. We have to go to Parliament with serious business. And if you want to put a vote of confidence in that Prime Minister, then it's a joke you're making. It's a joke you were making, Mr. Linton. I'm speaking to you. You know, let's take Parliament seriously, my brother. You see what I'm saying? Let's take Parliament seriously, you know. But we'll end on a joke. We'll end on a joke. I thank you for coming, my dear friends. May God bless us. May God bless this country. Let us all participate and partake in our independence celebrations. We have Heritage Day in the city of Maho. The city, he says Backmos is the best village. Only second to Vegas, he just qualified that and so on. But let us all participate and partake in the cultural activities. Let's support the stuff. I am thinking very seriously of being at the cultural gala. Last time I was there, I danced quadrille. I'm thinking of doing a little ballet. So look out for that. I have to do a little practice. I haven't, you know. I have to get my friends from Dubik, you know, to practice on some, because I love the Lav Way and Mr. Henderson from Grand Bay, you know, Charlie Bell. But I love the group from Grand Bay and Dubik. I like the Lav Way, you know. Sawin Mwe, Ja Tapi Soleil, Boucher Linton. Take care, bye-bye.